Hello, grade sevens. Welcome to the topic for today. Remember, we're still continuing with the transatlantic slave trade. So we are going to just continue on that. Okay, the objective is still the same. Understand the nature and impact of the slave trade between West Africa and the American South. The recap of previous lesson, we looked at plantations, reasons for using slave labor, how slaves were captured, sold, and transported from West Africa. So that's what we did in the last lesson. And then for today's topic, we're going to look at slavery in the American South. And then we're going to look at these subtopics: slave markets, numbers of slaves that were taken to America, what happened to the raw materials that slaves produced. So those are the topics that we're going to look at today. Slave markets. This is where all the slaves were being sold. So most of the African slaves who had survived the voyage would be kept in slave pens, cleaned, disinfected, and quarantined before being sold on slave markets. They were branded with a hot iron to identify them as slaves. They were then auctioned in public. Auctions were terrible for slaves because they did not understand the language and had to be treated badly in a humiliating manner. So it was very bad for the slaves. They were auctioned in public and then being sold. And then in this picture, you can see at the slave markets, that's an auction happening there. You can see here these two Africans, a man and a woman and a baby. And this is the auctioneer. And these were the American farmers or American rich people who were buying the slaves. So this was basically a slave auction, slaves being sold to people. And then how were the numbers of slaves taken to America like? There's an estimation of 15 people who were transported as slaves. Other slaves, they died on the voyage to America. So that table is showing the number of slaves being transported to America. You can see the number was huge. If we just go through the table, from 1500 to 1600, you can see 328,000 slaves were taken. And then from 1601 to 1700, about 1,348,000. From 1701 to 1800, 6 million were taken. From 1801 to 1900, 3 million, 3.5 million. And you can see the percentages, they are increasing from one century to another. So a lot of West African slaves, they were transported to America during the transatlantic slave trade. It was such a bad experience for them. And then what happened to the raw materials that slaves produced? Remember, when slaves arrived in America, they worked hard on plantations, on those farms. So what happened to the raw materials they produced? After harvesting, the raw materials that were produced by the slaves were shipped to America, where they would be processed into other goods. Imagine. This resulted in job creation and profits being made in Europe, and which led to the contribution to the industrial and commercial revolutions in Europe. So that's what happened to the raw materials. So they were transported to Europe. But these raw materials, they were produced by slaves because they were the ones who were working in those plantations, and they were not paid for that. So you can see how they experienced the whole situation. It was very bad for them. Okay, for today's lesson, it's very short. So I'm going to show you the homework, activity 3, that is on the worksheet. Let me quickly show you. Okay, so this is your activity for today, activity 3. So you are going to refer to that source, the picture there, and then you answer the following questions. Okay, so question 1, which word in source 3A tells you how slaves were regarded? Number 2, why are the slaves described as prime, healthy? Number 3, how do the images of the slaves in the advertisement support the statement prime, healthy? Number 4, why do you think the word Negroes is in big, bold type? Number 5, the last question, why do you think the advert says just arrived? So those are the questions, 5 questions. And then you do them for homework. So remember, next week we're going to do geography. So I'll just leave this for a few minutes so that you'll be able to write the questions down. For those who can't take screenshot, that is your activity, your homework. So you refer to that source, that picture. So that picture is an advertisement showing when the slaves will be sold, will be auctioned. So they were advertising that. Okay, just more time for you to write down the questions. Okay, that will be all for today's topic. And remember, next week uh, we'll be doing geography. Okay, so we're done for today. Grade 7s, make sure you do your work, please. Bye.